Hi, thanks for joining me on the Everything and Anything in a Bit Gay podcast, and this is Everything. Today, I'm going to talk about my almost 28-year relationship with my husband, Andrew, because I've gone on some other podcasts over the past, 3 or 4 months, just promoting my show on other podcasts and radio stations. It was really fun to do live radio, by the way. I never done that, and I got to do it with a guy named Philip Anthony, and that was fun to do, and I hope to do more of that. But that was the question that I kept getting, like, so, what is your podcast about? Was obviously the first question, and I would talk about my podcast. And then they were like, what was your first episode? And like, one of my first episodes was me and my husband, where we came on and we were talking about being together for 28 years or 27 or 26 years, whatever it was at that time. And so, first of all, not just for a gay couple to be together for this long, but for any couple at this point, like, what's the divorce rate in the United States? Like, people just don't stay together. Plus, it's a gay monogamous relationship, which is even more rare. And I was talking about that. People are like, well, how, one talk show, I think, was it the Dr. Frankie? It was one of the shows that I did, and she was a sex therapist, and she's just like, tell me like what you did to do that. So I'm going to kind of walk through our relationship. I've done this a little bit here and there over the past about how we met, but there's a lot of things that I think that people don't know. And I'm going to go through that. And the question I'm going to try to answer today is, how do we stay together for this long? September 17th will be 28 years. It's really quite crazy when you think about it. So first of all, I grew up in Miami. I went to college in Miami, and then I decided I was going to go to New York. Went to New York, got a studio apartment in the Upper East Side. It was a complete shithole apartment. And I think I paid $1,036 a month, which was a lot of money because my salary was $35,000 a year working for some nonprofit as an executive assistant. So by the time you get all those New York state taxes, the city tax, the federal tax, you don't have a lot of money left. And I had to learn how to shop for food on a bargain. I ended up getting a second job at a gym called Crunch Gym, checking people in. Then I ended up getting another second job, or quit that job and got another job at Pier 1 Imports, just because like I needed money to go out. Like I was going out 6 nights a week. But when I left Miami and I moved to New York, I had no desire at all to like meet anyone, like except friends. I had no desire to date anyone, maybe go on a date, but I did not want a relationship. I was done with guys. I thought guys were all assholes. I thought, I'm going to move to New York and just be single and be slutty and just like do my own thing. And of course, whenever you say shit like that, that's exactly when you meet somebody. So we did not have apps in 1998 when we met. Did I even have a cell phone? No, I couldn't afford a cell phone. So I moved to New York. I had a cell phone when I lived in Florida, but I had no fucking money at all. Plus, it wasn't an iPhone. Those were not even like in the future of anybody. I had a flip phone. So if you wanted to kind of text, you had to do like the number 2 was ABC. So you had to go AB, like if you wanted C, you had to hit the number 2 like 3 times to get to C. So nobody was fucking texting. Nobody was communicating on their cell phones. There was nothing like it called an app. So what we had back in 1998 was called America Online, or AOL. And AOL was, you had to literally get a CD. They were everywhere. Like AOL was delivering them to everybody's mailbox. Whenever I walked into my front building, which is where their mailboxes were, there were like 25 AOL CDs. And every time they had an update, it's not like they can update it. If they had a new like version of America Online, they could not like update it online for you because the speed was so slow. We were on dial-up. I had a dial-up modem. This is how fucking old school this was. Like, and if you pick up the phone, like it was all through a landline, if you pick up the landline, it would like disconnect you from your America Online. So I had no cell phone. I had a landline. Plus, the other thing I want to say is that whenever I had my landline, I'd call my friends back in Miami and they charged you per minute to talk on the phone back then. I feel like I'm talking like I'm in Little House on the Prairie or something, like, it's that fucking old school. But I went online, and I think I met a couple of people, on America Online before I met Andrew, totally just for hookups. Like, I was just like, "I'm gonna be a slut, I'm gonna, meet people." I was going out to bars, making out with guys, whatever I was doing. I was not being a pure little angel that I am today. But I, was online September 17th, and this guy comes online. My name, which I thought was really fucking cool, was Zach 1973, because that's the year I was born, 1973. So wasn't that fun whenever you're 25 or 24 or however old I was to say, this is how old I am? Would I have kept that name through this time period? Fuck no, because who wants you to know that you're in your 50s? But, back then, that was the fun thing to do, is to put your year of birth. Andrew's screen name was Drew, but he spelled it Dru Esquire because he went to law school. And so he and I started chatting on, like, it was a men for men room. So New York City, M for M, and then it was UES for Upper East Side. And then it was like room 29 because you could only have like 25 people or so in a room. And so you go in there, and then only thing you see is ASL. And it's like you're filling out a job application almost, because ASL is age, sex, or location. I mean, it's just like, and you wouldn't necessarily ask for sex. Well, I guess you could have back then in a men for men room. But anyway, you say your age. So 24, male, Upper East Side or whatever. And the thing is that living in New York, if you are not like walking distance from wanting to hook up and meet somebody, you're probably not going to do it. Especially on a Thursday or Wednesday or Tuesday night at like 10 o'clock. You're like, no, I'm not. If I can walk there, yes, but I'm not getting on the subway. Who can fucking afford a taxi? No one back then. At least I couldn't. And so I was online. Andrew sent me his law school picture. I'm like, whoa, so fucking cute, so hot. But I'm like, it's a law school picture. Plus, there was fucking catfish back then. And, he could have been a 72-year-old fat, bald man that, was like pretending to be Andrew. But I'm like, all right, well, I'll give him a chance. And I said, yeah, come over. Because he literally lived 4 blocks away. And it was perfect. He came over. When I opened the door, I'm like, fuck, like, this is him. He was 6'2", good body. And there was just something, it wasn't his looks, but it's just something about him. And I called my friend Gina the next day, because Gina was my friend that lived in New York, and we would hang out every single weekend and go out and do stuff. And she'd stay the night with me. But I called her the next day. I said, oh my God, I met the guy I'm going to be with for the rest of my life. She goes, no, you didn't. No, you didn't, because you moved to New York and got a job right away. You got an apartment in Manhattan in one day, which is like unheard of. You moved in, and now you think you found the person you're going to be with forever. She goes, that's not how life works. So just prepare yourself to be hurt or something. I said, no, I think I'm going to. She goes, okay, you do you, boo, and that's what you think. Then good for you. So we were hanging out that night, ended up having sex. He stayed the night. The next morning he left. I gave him my work phone number because, again, I didn't have a cell phone. I gave him my home phone number. And the next day at work, I get a phone call. And he's like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, nothing. He's so, do you want to hang out? Sure. We hung out that night again. We hung out every day, every night. I think we were at my apartment for the first 2.5, 3 weeks. He would always come to my apartment. I lived on a fourth floor walk up. So he lived on the first floor. So I think he probably got tired of coming over and walking up the 4 flights of stairs. So we went on our first date. Our first date was to go see Something About Mary. And I don't know if he planned it, but Something About Mary was filmed in Miami. So it kind of like resonated with me and stuff. And that was like our first date. And I think we had sushi and went to go see Something About Mary. And we were getting along so great. Everything was really fun. And then after Something About Mary, we were a block away from his apartment. And he goes, do you want to come to my apartment? Sure, I would love to. So we go to his apartment, and I walked in, and that was like a fucking frat boy apartment. It was like he was living in the frat house. There was dirty clothes everywhere. There was a pile of physical New York Times sitting like on top of this couch he had in his apartment. He obviously could not sit on the couch because there's so many. He would just like read the New York Times. He read it every single day, every morning. And then I think he just threw it on top of this couch. And I'm like, what's going on here? He had this really bad, like the sink was full of dishes. And I'll have to say, there was a moment I paused. I'm like, this is why he's coming to my house, but he's a fucking mess. And do I want this? But in the back of my head, I'm like, I can change him. And I know this is what everybody thinks. And I have to say, you think you can't change somebody, or they say you can't change them, because he told me many times within the first several years of our relationship, you can't change me. And I said, okay, that's what you think. And I knew I could eventually. But he fucking like was kicking and fighting me to change him for certain things. But I'm like, I'm changing you. So we were hanging out, we were going on dates, we were having fun. He ended up meeting my friends. I couldn't meet his friends because he wasn't out of the closet yet. So that took a while. Um, but he knew all of my friends that I met. I met a lot of people in New York very quickly. I had a whole friend group before I met him. Plus, I had my friend Gina. I had my friend Gina meet him, my friend Christine meet him, and my friend Donna meet him. So everybody got to meet Andrew. My friend Jen came up for Thanksgiving and she met him. And she loved him. She's like, oh my God, he's perfect. Like everybody loved Andrew. And everybody still does love Andrew because Andrew has never met a stranger. So we were having an amazing time. I think we were about 4 months into our relationship. And I ended up always going to his house to stay the night. But let me just say this before I say I was staying the night. One weekend, like after we went to his apartment for the first time and I seen how he was living, I'm like, it was like a Saturday. I'm like, do you want to clean up this place? Like, and he goes, oh, yeah, let's do it. Let me tell you, I went through his closet. I started taking stuff. I'm like, donation, donation, donation. Nope, 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 not wearing this anymore. I got rid of like 3/4 of his closet. And he's like, what's that pile for? I'm like, oh, it's stuff that you don't need to wear anymore. He goes, what? Some of my favorite shirts are in there. I'm like, yeah, no. Where did you get them from? A thrift store? And he goes, well, like, yeah, I got them down at the Unique Boutique down in the village. They're like vintage, like 70s shirts. I'm like, yeah, no, but that's not what we're doing anymore. So he got a bag, donated the clothes. He had very few clean clothes left. And we ended up doing laundry. We cleaned the kitchen. We got rid of all the New York Times papers. You could sit on the couch. And I thought about this afterwards. I'm like, oh my God, I bet you he fucking, like, I laid in that bed for weeks or months. I bet you he never washed his sheets because he was a fucking frat boy. And even today, though, like if I did not put sheets out for the cleaning lady, he would not do it because I don't think he doesn't think about those things. Even though I've sent him articles about how fucking dirty sheets are after 1 week and like the pillowcases, laying your face on a pillowcase, like it's just you have to do your sheets at least once a week. You have to. Anyway, that's a whole nother podcast. But we were together 3 or 4 months, and I was spending the night. I was bringing my stuff over, getting ready in the morning, going to work. Sometimes I'd go home and get ready to go to work, and I'm just like, this is ridiculous. And I said to him, again, we're spending 7 days a week together, every weekend, every day after work. Um, he gave me a key to his apartment for Christmas. That was my first Christmas present from him, one of my first Christmas presents. So I could come in and go whenever I wanted, which I was like, it was the best Christmas present I ever got from him. And I was just so happy. Like I was in love. There was no fighting. We were totally connected. My friends loved him. There was nothing that I would have changed at that point. So I'm like, you know, we're both paying rent. Like, why wouldn't we just move in with each other and get rid of one of the rents? Let me tell you, I think if we were like standing outside, he would have turned around and just ran because he turned a different color and it was too fast and he was not having it. And We went from hanging out every day from like and talking several times a day to I didn't hear from him for 2 full days. And I'm like, well, I fucked that one up. And finally he did call me and he just basically said, like, I'm not moving in with anybody. And I said, I get it. Um, but we got past that. I didn't bring it up again for a very long time. I think it took us a year and a half or 2 years until we did move in with each other. And we had a honeymoon phase for a very long time. I mean, I think it was probably like we didn't get into an argument or anything other than that little bleep whenever I asked if he wanted to move in. Like, I think that there was no disagreements or arguments. And there was so much of being like on your best behavior when you're first dating somebody where you're not being your true authentic self in a lot of ways. But we didn't fight at all. First 9 months, I would say we got along perfectly for the first 9 months. Then after that 9 month period or whatever it was, 8 month, 10 month period, something changed where we were starting to be who we really were. So my little bit of bitchiness came out, his little bit of bitchiness came out. Whatever was annoying each other, whatever we were doing to annoy each other was starting to come out. So I have a big thing with the way that people eat, like if they're smacking their food or they're he has this thing, and I talked about this probably before in a podcast, but he gets a bowl of ice cream and like stirs it up, mixes it up so it's like really fluffy. And his grandmother would always say, "What are you doing? Making soup?" And he always says that every time he does it. "Yeah, my grandmother would ask me if I was making soup." I'm like, "Yeah, I heard that a lot." Um, Story's cute, but stop doing it because I don't want to hear the clicking of the spoon, the silver spoon on the fucking ceramic. So stop. And I'm sure I was doing things to be whatever I was doing to be annoying to him, like, "Oh, we should do laundry this weekend," trying to make him clean. And that's when I think he said, "You can't change me." Um, but I did change him is the end of the story. I won't ruin it for you, but I did. And I'll just say that you don't really know somebody at all until you end up going on a vacation with them. So we must have been together. Was it? It wasn't quite a year because our first kind of trip together was 4th of July. We went to Washington, D.C. My friend Matt lived there, and we went down there because Matt moved from Miami to DC, and I wanted him to meet my friend Matt, and we drove there. And as we're driving there, so I was working 2 jobs. I was working for the nonprofit, making 35,000 a year, and I was getting ready to leave though. I was getting ready to go to a better job, but I was also working for was it Pier 1 at that point? Yeah, it was Pier 1 Imports. I was working for Pier 1 Imports making like $10 an hour. So, after work. So I was making a few $100s extra. So we're driving down there and I'm like, oh, I booked us a hotel at whatever, a Hilton, a Marriott, whatever it was. I'm like, we can just like split it. He goes, I don't have any money. I'm like, what? And I had no credit cards. So my credit card, I fucked my credit in college at that point. And and just FYI, my credit is good now. So I learned my lesson in college. But he's like, I don't have any money to contribute to this. I'm like, so you expect me to pay for the whole hotel? He goes, yeah. I thought you said you wanted to go to DC. And the reason we were going to DC is because that's where he went to college at. He went to George Washington University and he had a friends or somebody that lived down there. He wanted to go down there and see it because he hasn't been there for years. So I'm like, so I'm fucking taking you on vacation? Like, what the fuck is this? Honeymoon was over after that point. So plus, I had to go into we were checking the hotel and you needed a credit card, and I didn't have a credit card, so I had to use my debit card, and they put a hold on your credit card for a certain amount of money, and then I couldn't get money out. It was kind of a fucking disaster in a way, but we still were making the best of it. Next day, we're walking around. We wake up, we go get breakfast. And I wasn't that hungry because I wasn't such a breakfast person. And I said to him, let's get something to eat. I'm not that hungry. He goes, okay. So we went and got coffee. And he said, well, I'm going to get a bagel with cream cheese at this place. I'm like, oh, I'll just have like 2 bites. He goes, no, no, I'm going to have it all. No, no. I said, I don't want half of it. I just want like 2 bites of a half. No, I'm too hungry for it. I'm like, you're too hungry for me to have 2 bites of your bagel? He goes, yeah, I'm too hungry. I'm like, "So you want me to buy a entire bagel just for 2 bites?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm that hungry." And I was paying for it because he didn't have any cash. I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I ordered my own bagel and I was pissed off. I'm like, "You couldn't give me 2 fucking bites of a bagel?" And he goes, "I'm fucking hungry." And that's what we now refer to in our relationship as DC hungry. When you say you're hungry and you're really that hungry, you're DC hungry. Because if you're DC hungry, if we're on a deserted island and there's only one thing to eat, that whoever gets to the food first is eating, the other person's gonna starve and die. That's how hungry you are. And that's how hungry he was that day. And he was so nasty that day to me about being DC hungry. And after he ate, his mood was fine. He was just super hungry. But he could have gave me 2 bites. Like, I mean, anyway, people do go through these phases though where they like have an amazing relationship and it's great. And then, again, I think you're not who you really are in the beginning of your relationship. You're not showing your true colors. Like you don't want to fart in front of somebody. I didn't want to use the bathroom, you know, taking number 2 at his apartment because, I thought it was gonna be like it would gross him out. So I was like, you just do these things so they don't know who you are. You don't want people to know the gross shit about you or and stuff like that. Even though it's 2 guys, like, I mean, maybe we'd have burped in front of each other at the time or something, but we weren't farting in front of each other or doing stuff like that. I mean, you just like you also, like, make sure, like, when you're gonna have sex that you're, like, extra clean and, we were plus that's the other thing. Sex happens, like, every single day when you first meet for the first several years, sometimes multiple times a day. That it's nonstop sex because you just can't get enough of each other. Plus, there's a lot of, like, laying together and spooning together and, like, falling asleep together and things like that. That's all wonderful the first few years, but let me tell you, that is a fucking rare occasion as you get longer into your relationship, saying, "Oh, do you wanna spoon together?" "No, it's too hot," or it's, "Nope, and I'm going to my own room because you have separate bedroom." That's what a real relationship is, so I am so thankful I met him, and I'm going to bring you a series of this as I go through, my This Is Everything episodes because I think talking real about relationships and like what to expect is so important. I have so many friends that are single now. They all want relationships or they say they do. I think they do, but a new relationship is so much work because again, you have that honeymoon phase where everything is amazing and great and you're getting to know someone which is kind of fun and then you go to this person has some shit that I just don't know if I can deal with. And their real personality starts to show, and you get to see who somebody really is. And yeah, there's lots of periods over the 28 years where I'm like, are we going to make it? There is not, we had a 7-year issue, not a cheating issue, but there is a thing called the 7-year itch. Not that we were looking to do anything, but there was the 7-year mark that I will go to in the next episode that I do for This Is Everything, where I'll talk about what happened with that. Because I really thought our relationship at the 7-year mark was done. I've talked about this a little bit in previous episodes that I've done, but I'll go into more details about what that means. And I'll bring you through the series with me to tell you about what to expect in a relationship and from my point of view. And I think my point of view of being together for almost 28 years, um, is common for people. And as I talk to my other friends that have been together in long-term relationships, it's kind of the same story all around. It's just we're all humans at the end of the day and we're all going through this shit. And if you hear a couple saying, I've been together for 28 years and it's been nothing but amazing days every single day, they're fucking lying because there are days that you want to put a pillow over your partner's face and see their legs kick because they can't breathe. And there's times that you want to do that, but you don't because you do love them and you don't want to go to prison. But some days I'm like, prison may be better than what we're going through today, but we're here. Thanks for listening. I will be back on the next This Is Everything, possibly continuing my series on being in a 28 relationship and what to expect. Hope you enjoyed this. Leave a comment. Let me know. If you haven't rated this podcast yet, please do. The more ratings, 5-star ratings we get, the more people hear this. And I appreciate you listening, and I'll be back with a new episode tomorrow for you. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.